Scoodly doodly doo, it's time for another Welch review. Scoodly doodly doo doo.
Evening, gang. Welcome to the Welch Review. We're your hosts, Sam and Stefan.
Great to see you again. Thanks for tuning in.
Today we're talking about a movie called Asylum, Blackout. It's not the newest film. It's an older movie, right?
It is an older movie, absolutely.
But it's a good one, and it's not very well known.
No, it came out in 2012, 2011, around that time period.
So that's when, what?
So I was a junior in high school. So either graduated or I was a junior, one or the other. Wow. What is it? 2021. Quick math has always been a problem.
It's 9 years ago.
Nice. Wow.
You're old.
I guess some might say.
Alright, ready?
So anyway, aside from that, Asylum Blackout stars Rupert Evans as George. You may recognize Rupert from the horror movie The Boy, American Pastoral, which also had Ewan McGregor in it, The Man in the High Castle, which is an Amazon original. It's based on a story by Philip K. Dick, the same guy who wrote Blade Runner, or What Do Electric Sheep Dream Of? And then he's also in the Netflix hit Bridgerton. You have Kenny Doty as Max. He was in Snowpiercer. He had a small part. He's in Stella, something called Vera, and I believe a TV show called Blackwork. I'm not familiar with any of those except Snowpiercer. And then you have Joseph Kennedy as Ricky, who has been in Doctor Who, the film Brimstone, and the TV show, or the BBC show, Midsummer Murders. You also have Dave Legerio as JB. He was in the Clive Owen Morgan Freeman film Last Nights, Snow White and the Huntsman, The Raven, and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Parts 1 and 2. Then you have Richard Brake, who probably has the biggest name out of this cast. He plays Harry in this, but he is known from the movie 3 from Hell, 31, which are both Rob Zombie films. He played Joe Chill in Batman Begins. He killed Bruce Wayne's parents. Kind of makes sense that he'd be in a movie about inmates in an insane asylum. And then he was also the original face mold of the Night King in Game of Thrones, for those piercing blue eyes. I met him actually at Comic-Con. He's a nice guy. A little creepy, but nice guy. Probably because of the roles he's played. Then you have Marcus Garvey as William. He was in Eurovision, which is on Netflix. Broadchurch, which is another BBC show. Stella, so like Ken Doty, they work together. The HBO Max show, The Nevers. Anna Skellen as Lynn. She was in The Descent Part 2, the film Siren, Solitary, the AMC show Humans, and the movie W.E. And then you had Darren Kent as Pete, and he was in the horror film Mirrors, Blood Drive, and also had a small role in Game of Thrones. And this was written by S. Craig Zahler, who wrote and directed Bone Tomahawk, Brawl and Cell Block 99, and Dragged Across Concrete, which recently came out with Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn. And this was directed by Alexander Cortez. And he's pretty much known for directing the band U2, some of their music videos. And he made a movie called The Players with that actor who is in the... is it called The Actor? I don't know. It was that silent movie that won like everything a couple of years back.
I have no idea.
I don't know what that's called.
Is that the one where the lady bakes a chicken for turkey for 6 hours and murders her husband?
No. I'm talking the artist. It won like Best Picture. Jean Dong Giovanni. He's French. He's real good.
Okay.
He's real good, and I'm sure I haven't seen the artist, but I hear good things. But anyway, that's a who's who and what you might know them from.
Mm-hmm. So as far as the plot goes, movie's pretty straightforward. Dude works at an insane asylum as a cook. He also plays in a band on the side. Some of his buddies who play in the band, he's gotten them jobs also cooking at this insane asylum, right? Because he is like the head chef. But the band's kind of going nowhere, and there's some tension in between him and his friends. At that same time, there is a power outage at their insane asylum. And as such, the inmates start to go kind of crazy. There's like a revolt, essentially, right? They decide to stop taking their meds, and one of the inmates, kind of leads a revolt against
Harry.
the guards. Yeah, inmate named Harry. So basically, our chef and his chef friends have to survive for as long as they can until the cops can get there to save them. Throughout this experience, they interact with a whole bunch of people who have different serious
illnesses.
Mental illnesses. I don't know, it's an interesting ride. One thing about this film, and I know that's a very quick plot summary, but it's a very direct film. It's a psychological thriller. There's some weird twists and turns here and there that you probably won't expect, and I definitely didn't expect. And also, they're kind of hard to decipher. Like, I'm not 100% sure how the movie actually ends. I'm pretty sure, but not like 100%. Concurrently, it's a very gory film, right? So if you're squeamish, this probably isn't for you because it's very graphic, it's very gory, and it's very like in your face about it. It's not trying to hide it. So keep that in mind if you decide that you're going to go and watch this movie. But anyways, probably the quickest plot synopsis of all time on the Welch Review.
So far, man. But like you said, it's a straightforward film. Dudes are in insane asylum, blackout happens, inmate revolt, survive.
Yeah.
It's like a 5-point program.
Yeah, so basically the blackout happens, and immediately afterwards the head guard is like, hey, all of these doors lock automatically, so half of our guys are trapped on the other side, and I need your help to get these inmates to their cells. Well, basically, when they come back, after they've gotten some of the inmates to their cells, when they come back, the head guard's missing, and their kitchen's been ransacked, and normally their kitchen is like locked from the inmates, so the inmates can't get in. So they're like, oh, things are going really bad. And then little do they know that's actually the best they'll ever be. And it just gets considerably worse every single minute that they exist in that environment. It's a messed up film. Nobody in the cast is really safe. Not going to say who dies and who lives, anything like that, but nobody is safe. Kind of some of the people you expect to live die, and the people you don't expect to die live. People who you do expect to die live. That's it.
Yeah, how you said it was fine.
Yeah. It's a little backwards in that regard. But I'm again not gonna say who. But yeah, it's kind of unexpected in a lot of its twists and turns.
It's definitely, I think, again, like you had mentioned, it's not something that, like you'd see regularly, right? Like you'd suspect, oh hey, Asylum Blackout's out. Let's watch that, right? Like, it kind of flies under the radar. If you are a fan of horror movies, if you're a fan of independent films, then this is like kind of like a Maze Runner type thing. And I don't mean it like the movie, but I mean it as in like,
it's a dungeon crawl.
It's a dungeon crawl, yeah. You're like, oh, what's in this room? And then you go over here, what's going on over here? Then this is something you might want to check out. It's a rainy day movie. If
your rainy days include eating people.
If you watch it, you'll understand. But I guess what I'm getting at is, it is worth your time. It is independent film done right. They clearly don't have a ton of money, but like they utilize the sets they have very well. Mm-hmm. Everything is important. Nothing is wasted.
Yeah, one thing that I've noticed in the film is that they reuse the sets multiple times. because part of it's like an investigation, right? They're like, oh, well, you know, things are going bad, but who's leading it, right? This guy's missing. Where did he go? So they're like looking around, trying to find people, trying to solve what's going on inside of this insane asylum. Why everybody's going Dixie? You know, what's going on? How are they going to get out? How are they going to get help? And each time that they're in a familiar environment, right, one that you've already been to, it's changed in some kind of way. I'm not talking like the walls start moving, but like maybe there's a dead body or an important tool that they need, or something that is in the room now that wasn't before, or maybe the room is just like a gory mess. Like they do a very good job of reusing set pieces that they already have, and a lot of horror movies don't really do that, right? Because most horror movies are like kind of like a chase. Whereas this is like a very confined location. And obviously, because it is an independent film, they didn't have money to build multiple sets. Right. So they had to figure out how to recycle the same tools over and over and over again. And that's something that they did a very good job at. Something that I didn't, and I want to get to things that you liked and disliked, but something that I didn't like, and it wasn't necessarily the acting, because I think acting-wise it was pretty okay. Definitely not the best in the world, but it wasn't bad. But the tension in between some of the characters is really weird. So for example, our main character, like I said, he's in a band. One of our co-stars is his best friend, who's also in said band. And their big tension in between each other is that the main character has a girlfriend that he like consistently goes to see. And it's never elaborated on. That's like the whole thing. He's like, oh man, you have a girlfriend. Our band's never gonna go anywhere. And it's like, that's really dumb, because that girlfriend goes to all of the gigs and encourages him to do more gigs. Like, she's shown being supportive earlier in the film. She is nowhere near a barrier. Maybe that's something that they were going to introduce, and then they just didn't have time, so they had to adapt it and change it. But as the movie stands now, there's just like some weird, really unexplained tension in between some of the characters, and that's just kind of like an example of it.
This is not like fully fleshed out, but yeah. No, I got you. They like hodgepodge, like trying to make it drama with like prison escape horror.
Yeah.
Right? So it's definitely a strange blend of things, which oddly I think works. Yeah. But it definitely drops some of the drama, like the inner drama between the band members in lieu of for more horror elements. Yeah, I think while some of that inner connectivity between the characters is a little weird and unfleshed out, I do think that they play off each other, you know, rather decently. Like when they're in the kitchen, especially. Like I think they do a really good job.
Yeah, when they're not fighting, they seem like they're doing a pretty good job. Like
well,
they have
even
good
when
rapport.
they're fighting, I guess what I mean is when they're outside of the prison they're in, it's a little iffy. But when they're in the prison, like in that confined space of the kitchen and trying to make that work and juggle their outside things, when they're in the actual, where the film is, right, I think they do a good job.
Yeah, I can agree with that. One other thing that I think is kind of an issue for the film is when people yell in the background. And there's a lot of crazy people. I'm just kidding. There's crazy people all over the place. They yell in the background. Give me 1 sec. I gotta close this door. Alright, so with that out of the way, yeah, so I think that one other issue is that the characters don't always seem that into each other, like, socially. Like, I guess that's not right to say. I don't really care about a lot of the characters, right? There's people who you're introduced to, and they're killed on camera in front of you in, like, horrendous ways. And obviously the point is for you to feel for them.
Like Ricky. No one cared about Ricky dying.
Well, I wasn't going to mention his name, but yes, you're right. Nobody cared about Ricky dying, and like First, okay, so Ricky's supposed to be their friend. They leave Ricky behind. Then they watch Ricky get murdered in front of them. And they're like, no, stop it! But none of them try to help him. And they far outnumber the amount of people who were killing Ricky. Right? There were 2 people, or 3 people maybe. I think it was 2. Might have been 3.
Might have been 3.
Might have been 3. Well, there's 3 of them. And in the following scene, they murder all of the people who killed Ricky, plus like 3 other guys. Like, what? And when they do it, they're down 1 person. So it's just 2 of them murdering all the people who killed Ricky, but this time they're on the back foot because they're playing defense, right? Instead of aggressing. So, yeah, there's just contradictory scenes, right, where they obviously have the capability to do better. And by do better, I mean save people. And then they choose not to. And those characters that are dying, you don't really care about because they haven't been fleshed out, right? The only group that really gets fleshed out are the ones who are with the main character for a majority of the film. And Ricky just didn't make the cut. Sorry, Ricky.
Bye-bye, Ricky. No, I agree with that. I also think... yeah, I'm not sure. Again, not like... it's hard because it's like there are not really a lot of... I don't think there are really standout things. I think one of the big standout... There are maybe 2 that really come to mind when watching this film. When they realize they're not safe in the kitchen, right? When the prisoners figure out, oh, this is how we're going to get to them.
Yeah.
That was, I thought, really well done. I also think the tension gets real amped up when they're in, like, that... I don't think it's a nurse's office, but when they're in that office,
oh yeah,
find the phone.
That's the guard, like the head guard's office.
The head guard's office.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the head guard's office, and when the prisoners realize this is how we can get in the kitchen. I thought those 2 scenes were like
very tense,
very well done. You believed it. You felt the fear. Otherwise, I thought some of it was kind of like, all right, you're run-of-the-mill prison riot.
Yeah. I can agree. I don't think that there's a lot of like crazy standout moments, but I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing because the movie is very consistent in what it does well throughout the entire film. So like, while there's no like big super awe moments, there's like a lot of really good smaller moments.
Like when that guy they hear scraping and it's a guy who's like couponing in his cell.
Yeah. Or maybe not even for scary purposes, but there's a scene where they realize, hey, these guys suck at fighting. So instead of hiding, they go on the move, right? They're like, all right, well, we're just gonna get out of here. So they're hauling around one of their friends who's having a horrible time of life, and they will like come into contact with like 2 or 3 dudes who are inmates at the ward, and one of them will just go out and beat the living hell out of like 2 or 3 guys, and then they'll just go back to moving because they're like, oh wait a minute, these guys suck at fighting, they're crazy, like, and it's not like they're working out or anything, they're just like bashing their head against a wall. So yeah, that scene made me like it's okay. Honestly, it's kind of messed up if you think about it, right? Because they're just beating up mentally ill people, but at the same time, it's like yes, they just because these are the people who like murdered their friends, and then you're like give it to them, get them. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. I'd say the movie does a lot of things right. It doesn't do anything crazy well, but everything that it does to a consistent and solid standard, right?
It's like they knew, it's like, look, here's what we can do, here's what we can do well, that's what we're shooting.
Exactly. And in an indie film, I think that that's exactly where you need to be. So yeah, as far as indie films go, this is a really good one. Again, you have to kind of be down with gore, and like a little bit of like mental fuckery. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's well said. But again, definitely worth checking out. Definitely not, top of the barrel, but certainly not the bottom. For all you horror fans, it is worth the watch. If you're a fan of S. Craig Zeller and his other works, such as Bone Tomahawk, Brawl in Cell Block 99, and Dragged Across Concrete, this is the... I don't know if it's the first thing he's written, but it is like... It introduces you to a lot of themes you see throughout his other movies that he has since gone on to direct. This is the only one he has not directed, among a couple others, I think. But it's very good. So, pick it up. Stay tuned for our next episode, and thank you for stopping by.
Yeah. Hey, have a great day.